Hello and welcome to the Winners of Sheffield Podcast. Today I'm at Huddersfield Town Football Stadium, is that right?
Yeah.
Which is sponsored by Accu. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, the Accu Stadium.
Accu Stadium. And I'm joined by Accu's Managing Director, Alastair Morris. Thanks for joining us. I thought we've been talking about getting this in the diary for a long time, haven't we, to be fair? I think it was January, February when I first started messaging. We were going to do it for March and one thing led to another. But yeah, nice to finally get in front of you. And
it's great. And thanks for coming over to Huddersfield.
Yeah, I ploughed through the snow to get here. No, it wasn't too bad, to be fair. But saw the weather this morning. I thought, that doesn't look ideal. But I mean, it's the first time I've been in the stadium. It's amazing, to be fair. You must be really proud to have your logo, your name.
Yeah, it's been an amazing thing doing the deal actually on the stadium. The guys who founded Accu 14 years ago, local Huddersfield lads, really couldn't believe that the business had grown to the point where they were able to do that and put the name on a landmark in the town. So it's much more than just sponsoring the football club, right? It's actually part of the town, and it's on the road signs and in people's consciousness. So
and just there, I know when you were messaging me, you were sort of saying, did they start in? It was like a back bedroom business?
Yeah, the two of them started the business in their bedrooms. They built a website, kind of had the vision of being the Amazon of engineering components, sell engineering components online, make it fast, easy for people to buy a technical product, kind of really highly specified engineering product. So, and that is what the business is today. We've got a large warehouse of components just south of Huddersfield, and we sell them all over the world now.
Yeah, brilliant. I must admit, I was a bit disappointed that we weren't going there, but this is a good substitute with that. But yeah, if we can just start from the start of your journey. I know you were saying that you grew up in Penistone earlier when you were talking to me. So.
Yeah, I grew up near Penistone. My dad was a doctor in Barnsley. My mum was a teacher, and I wanted to be an engineer. That was kind of early days. That was where I saw myself. Love of motorsport, and always saw myself kind of being a motorsport engineer. Did a series of engineering degrees. Was probably kind of biding my time trying to decide exactly what I wanted to do. Ended up doing several degrees, but actually kind of came to the conclusion that motorsport wasn't where I wanted to work. I love the sport, but it's an all or nothing career choice. It's a real lifestyle choice. You've got to do everything in that, and I kind of wanted a broader view. So I went to work in the automotive industry, and I spent 10 years working for Bosch. Starting off in an engineering role, looking after windscreen wipers for Jaguar Land Rover as a kind of junior engineer. But then gradually becoming more commercial. I was an account manager for a variety of different car companies, looking after different components across the range. And across 10 years, I worked for them for 3 years in Italy.
How did that come about?
I was so I did a gap year before starting work. I did a gap year in Italy and did voluntary work. So through a contact I knew, I went and looked after small children in Sicily, in kind of inner Palermo, in a really rough area, and was looking after kids for a year. I turfed up there, not speaking a word of Italian, not knowing what I was letting myself in for, but an amazing experience. Got taught Italian by 6-year-old kids that I was looking after, but also got an incredible love for the country and the people. So was then able to get a transfer to the Italian office, and instead of selling to Aston Martin and Rolls Royce, I was selling to Fiat and Ferrari and Lamborghini.
And were you predominantly speaking Italian in those roles, or?
So I spent 3 years in Turin.
Because you get this vision of going abroad and everyone still speaks English, but presumably
this was a proper Italian job. I had an Italian boss, I had Italian customers. who, when they were angry, would shout at me in Italian over the phone, and I discovered that my Italian wasn't as good as I thought it was. I had to learn even faster. Cultural experience. I even had customers teaching me swear words in Italian so that they can use them against me.
I used to work in an Italian restaurant too, actually, and swear words are pretty much all that remains to this day.
Yeah, sure, yeah. But an amazing experience, and that kind of understanding of different cultures. I was a British guy working for a German company in Italy.
So what were you then, like late teens, early 20s?
That was my mid to late 20s. Yeah. Brilliant experience, and learned so much about working with people in different cultures, different ways of doing things, different management styles. I absolutely loved it.
I mean, when you sent me through the email of your bio, and it's sort of Fiat, Ferrari, Lamborghini, it all sounds very sexy. Was that, was it as sexy in reality as what it sounds, or was it a bit more rough and ready?
Some of it absolutely was. So in my time at Bosch, I ended up managing accounts for a lot of really exciting road car companies. At one point, McLaren, Aston Martin, Morgan, Caterham, Lotus, and as the supplier into all of those companies, we've got the real privilege of seeing the development vehicles for all of those customers. Where they weren't allowed to see each other's cars, they were competitors. But because they were all our customers, we were kind of working on the development of all of these different vehicles.
Was that highly confidential stuff?
Really confidential stuff. Lots of protections between them and what you couldn't see. But there was some really exciting stuff. And I worked very closely with McLaren when they were developing their first production road car. It's the MP412C. And had a great time working on some of the development elements of that, because I wasn't a McLaren employee, I wasn't allowed to drive the development vehicle. That was, absolute no. So having to test the parking sensors by moving the obstacles towards a stationary car rather than moving the car around. So some great times. Obviously, though, there's then a lot of wrangling over 3 pence on the price of a component and trying to win the next deal. Hard work, but an awful lot of fun. Yeah, really enjoyed it.
Brilliant. So yeah, we jumped right to sort of end of university and studying in Italy, but rewinding slightly, our school. I mean, you seem like quite an academic guy. Was that?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I was pretty academic at school. Top of the year and doing well in my exams. I worked hard at school and was very, very focused on the academic.
Quite a sporty guy, or?
Which I did a bit of sport. It was a really sporty school. Mike Tyndall was in the year above me, which probably put me off rugby for life. If having been on a rugby pitch playing against him, that was the kind of standard it was at, and I was never going to be that good. So did a bit of hockey, but I was definitely more of the academic guy. Loved the maths and the physics that led into engineering. That was probably my strength, although I always loved creative side of things as well. So was doing a lot of art at that point, and that's kind of bled through into sort of marketing things that I've done more recently as well. It's definitely skills that I still use today. Yeah.
And you mentioned your mother was a teacher.
Yeah.
Was she a teacher where you were?
She was. No, I didn't. I think my parents deliberately they didn't want me to go to her school. But yeah, she was a physics teacher, and that was probably an influence.
Rubbed off on you.
Yeah, what I was learning and what was inspired by, definitely.
And you mentioned motorsport was an attraction to. What are we talking? Motocross, rally, or Formula One?
Formula One was the absolute love. Still is. In my teens, I'd got the time to follow all brands of motorsport, everything. Loved a bit of rallying. Followed a lot of the American motorsport really closely. As I've got less time now, it's kind of filtered more down to Formula One and Formula E's, all I kind of get.
And who was the hero of the hour when you were?
For the biggest chunk of my childhood, it was David Coulthard. So kind of, Yeah, I was an Alan Prost fan. You know, very very technical, very clinical. And then when he retired, followed David Coulthard very closely. But then that kind of hooked me onto McLaren. I've been a lifelong McLaren fan since. Enjoying them doing well again now.
I have to say, it's not something I know. Lost my dad a few years ago, and he was a big Formula One, and I used to watch it for years. I always liken it to, it's a great sport for cooking Sunday dinner. You can kind of put the Sunday roast on, keep popping your head around, and obviously with highlights you get to see. I must admit, when it went to Sky and all the rest of it, I kind of lost a bit of interest in it, and I don't get him with the weekly asking me, "Oh, have you been watching?" and it filled me in, even though I weren't watching it anymore. But who's the main guy this year then?
Well, Lando Norris currently leading the World Championship, and
so it's been Max Verstappen.
I mean, Verstappen's dominated for several years, but with 3 races to go in the season, it's really hotting up for an amazing finish. I think the sport's in a great place at the moment. Actually, it's become highly competitive. And the teams have really closed up. So
and Aston Martin,
it's a great time. Yeah, massive investment in Aston Martin.
Do you go to the Grand Prix then?
When I can. Since I had kids, I haven't managed to get as often as I can. But I still love to go to the races whenever I can. Both at Silverstone, but then around the world. When I lived in Italy, obviously I was going to Monza. That was great.
Brilliant. Yeah. What's the dynamic with kids? Have you got boys, girls?
Yeah, I've got an older boy and a younger girl.
And is the boy into the similar things?
He's not picked up a love of motorsport yet. They're always aware of me watching it, but I can't force them to watch it.
You kind of assume that your kids will like what you like, but it never seems to happen that way.
No.
So what's his sort of?
He's into. He's got that creative thing. So he loves drawing, but he loves creating things. So he loves Warhammer. He's painting his little figures in immense detail. He's drawing things out. He's on Minecraft where he's building things and crafting things. Yeah, he's definitely a creator.
I say I'm a girl dad, so it's all just girly stuff around the house. My youngest is a bit more of a ladette, so I had aspirations of her being into football and stuff like that. But no, but they both. So you heard me talk earlier. We did a 24-hour paddle this year, and they came to the end and they got a bit of a flavour for paddle. But I'm saying it's quite an expensive sport, so we started with table tennis. If they get to a certain level, then I'll start taking them to pickleball and paddle. You had a game of paddle?
I haven't had a game of paddle. No, I think I probably should.
It seems the
big craze. Everyone's going mad for it right now.
Yeah, so we interviewed Alex, who's the manager at Play Paddle, and Joe, who's the manager at Club the Paddle, and just amazing what a year, the difference a year can make. This time last year, I think there was 1 outdoor court. In this weather, nobody wants to be playing outdoors, now we've got 2 state-of-the-art facilities. But yeah, you should definitely.
Right, yeah, I used to play a bit of squash, so I'd love to have a go.
To be fair, I'm playing against him on Friday. I played against a lad because there's Playtomic scores, so it's like levels where you are, which obviously all of these things are going to have their sort of pitfalls. But I played against a guy the other week, and it was his rating was 1, mine's about 1.5. Got on the court with him, and he'd never played paddle before, but he was clearly very good at squash. He said he played squash. I was like, "You're definitely not a 1." So yeah, you've got to take those with a pinch of salt. So. Yeah, you talked about being the sponsor here.
Yeah,
and obviously that was going on in the background. How long's that sort of been in the pipeline before it?
Yeah, it was probably a year's worth of conversation before finally inking the deal and get it announced this for the start of this season. Basically, which was great. It felt like a really good fit between the club and us as a business. The club's on a journey. They've got a new owner, Kevin Nagel, Californian guy who's investing an enormous amount of money in the club, and he's really wanting to raise the game of everything on and off the pitch. Yeah. There's a great vision for what they want to do off the pitch, redevelop the stadium, which it's 30 years old, so it's got the advantage of being
Is it really?
a modern stadium that's well designed and got good facilities, but hadn't been you know,
quite reminiscent of some of the European stadiums, isn't it? With the
it's iconic in the town, really recognisable around the place, and so he's investing a lot, and there's a large site here that he intends to develop and make a destination outside the football season as well.
Right.
Bring events here, bring business events to the venue as well.
So conference and exhibition.
Yeah, exactly. So kind of a great local venue for us to be associated with. But then obviously he's very keen to invest in the football team as well and take it back to where it's been. They feel a little bit stuck in League One at the moment, and they need to build a roadmap for how to get success back into the football, and we want to ride that wave really. I think it'll take time to come, but I believe in the investments there that can make it happen.
The pyramid of football is so fickle, though, isn't it? It's sort of. I mean, if you look at Wednesday 10 years ago, you'd have thought, come what may, they might just get there. Now they're probably worse off, than they've ever been. So sure. It's sort of hopefully your owners or the owners here are going to be a lot of a safer bet than Chancery turned out to be for Wednesday. Yeah. And now there's even speculation about Mike Ashley wanting to buy them for 10 million. I'm sort of think might be out of the chip pan into the fire with that.
Could be.
So what about, have you got any allegiances to football in Sheffield? Are you a Wednesday United fan?
I'm not a massive football fan at all, with that passion of motorsport, never spend a time, but I can hear Bramall Lane from my kitchen table. So I know when they're doing well, when you can hear it. Not been hearing much of them recently, unfortunately.
Ironically, although I'm more Wednesday, I've probably been to more Sheffield United ties over the years, just because I think although Wednesday have probably got that deeper history, United in more recent history have had more success. I've been down to Old Trafford and Wembley and Highbury to see them and what have you. So,
No, I wish them all well. I think it's great for the city when they're doing well. It really raises the profile nationally and internationally, but it creates a good feeling as well. So, I genuinely love to see them both doing well.
And what about here? Are you going to be here regularly?
So I mean, I've
bringing the family.
I've been to more football matches this season than I have in the rest of my life probably. But that's another great opportunity. I've been involved with the club and able to bring guests here and entertain people here. It's a great occasion.
Yeah, brilliant. So obviously you spent a lot of time in Italy, but you've been back in Sheffield for some time now.
Yeah, so I left. I made the decision to leave Bosch and move back north. I was in London at that time and kind of been away from South Yorkshire for 10 years, but wanting to start a family, buy a house. I wanted to come back. It was why I wanted to bring my kids up and live a better lifestyle. And I also made the conscious decision then to go into a small business. So having worked in a 300,000 employee company, I was very conscious that I wanted the next step to be in a small business where I could have more impact. Make change and see the impact of that change, and grow a business. Get involved in trying to actually build a brand and grow a business. So I went to work for a historic Sheffield manufacturing company. 170-year-old business, really part of the steel and manufacturing history of Sheffield. But was on a journey to modernize and was starting to sell software and robotic systems.
Where was that?
So it's a company called Pryor Marking Technology. Still in Sheffield city centre now. Still manufacturing all its product there.
I think that's where you were when I first saw your name.
Lot of pride in the city. And I was sales and marketing director there for 7 years. And was part of that journey of bringing it into the 21st century and opening up new markets. Some of the customers that I knew, the automotive customers that I'd worked with, but then broadly across lots of different manufacturing industries. And I worked a lot internationally at that time, so we were doing a lot of exports, and we set up a subsidiary in the USA. I spent a lot of time going backwards and forwards to the USA. Took my family out there for a while as well to help establish the office there. So that was in Richmond, Virginia. So kind of middle of the East Coast. It was easy to get to from the UK, but then easy to get around.
Nice climate, I imagine.
Yeah, nice climate, proper 4 seasons. So you're not too hot in the summer and not too cold in the winter as you get in the far north and south of the USA, and the more sort of historic bit of the US. So yeah, really great place to spend a lot of time. I was back there just last month actually visiting friends. So yeah, really great part of the world.
Brilliant. And from there you went to
yeah. So then the last 3 years I've been managing director of Accu. Accu kind of found me actually. They sort of what actually happened was that one of the owners of Accu met some of my team at a conference run by an organization called the Happiness Index, talking about workplace culture and employee engagement, employee happiness. Something that was really important to me and to Accu, and the connection was made through that, and given the opportunity to come in as MD to a business that's got really ambitious growth plans. You know, they've grown from nothing to 140 people in 14 years, but really want to carry on growing at a very
How much of that has been in the last 3
fast pace
that you've been here?
Yeah, so when I joined, I was employee 86, I think. Right, so we've added a lot of people,
nearly doubled,
and that's definitely part of what I was brought in to do. The guys who founded the business kind of wanted to do the more entrepreneurial bits and go international and set up new projects, and brought me in to scale the organization, bring in the process, bring in those additional people that you need to operate on a different scale.
And was that your first step as managing director?
Technically it was. I mean, the US operation I'd essentially run, albeit small, with only a few employees. I'd kind of had overall oversight for everything that happened in that subsidiary. So I touched on some of what was involved, but this was a different scale. And I'm definitely still making it up as I go along. I mean, every week there's a new challenge and something I haven't encountered before. And as we grow, there's new things that you have to tackle. You know, every stage in that growth has got something different thrown at you. You know, I never imagined I'd be broken in a deal to sponsor a football stadium, but opportunities present themselves. They fit with our plan, and we try to grab them. So
brilliant. And making that transition from sort of sales. Did you feel imposter syndrome at times?
Every day. I was saying to one of my team just yesterday, actually, that I think imposter syndrome, it just gets more the more responsibility you're given, right? You don't necessarily gain lots more skills for doing things. In fact, you get responsibility for a greater breadth, and you become an expert on less and less of it. You can't possibly stay abreast of it all. So it just becomes about making sure you've got the right team of people, and that you've got people that you've got confidence in to do things. You can't possibly do it all yourselves.
And how has it sort of been, MD? I mean, I managed the bar. You'll know Dam House, won't you? At Crooksmore Park.
Yeah.
I managed Dam House for about 6 months, and at the time, I had 3 owners that was there pretty much every day. So I felt micromanaged quite, or watched, and maybe that says more about my relationship with the owners there. But how is it sort of being managing director of? Because they're obviously still very integral in the business, presumably.
Yeah, they are. They're still involved, but they've been great, and definitely not micromanaging.
Was there an MD before you?
A lot of collaboration. No, it was creating the role, and it was very much that the two of them had been doing everything themselves on a very flat structure, and they knew everything that happened in the business, and everyone more or less reported to them. But that wasn't really scalable. And credit to them, they acknowledged that wasn't them that was going to do that next bit with more people and everything that brought. So they created the role when I joined, and have been great at empowering me to do things. But it's very collaborative, and I love that. I love working in a team. I always want people to bounce ideas off and talk things through, and make sure it's right for different perspectives. So even though we're all really different people, it works well that we bring different things to the table and collaborate really well.
What is your sort of management style then? Is it sort of come with me? Are you leading from the front or?
Yeah, definitely. I talk a lot about my role being removing roadblocks, enabling people to do their job, right? I try to be the opposite of micromanagement. I'm not, I don't want to tell people what to do. I want to facilitate them. They're the ones that know what needs to happen. How do we make that happen? There's no question that I'm a front of house person. I'm out representing the company a lot. And there's a strategic piece going on there. We want to raise our brand profile, make sure more people have heard of us. We've reached a size now where the next step is much more name recognition and people thinking of coming to Accu and buying from us. That's an important part of our growth. So I do a lot of that myself.
And is there anything in the pipeline in that regard that you can sort of divulge, or is that a bit sort of?
No, so we've got all sorts of things going on.
Obviously, you've got the stadium.
We've got a football stadium. That's quite
secret.
That's quite a big one, and there's a lot to do. I mean, that's a 5-year deal at least.
Right. Okay.
And we want to build a lot on that and make the most of it. So there'll be a lot of work with the club to do some high profile things. We've got some exciting stuff coming up in 26, more in the engineering community. So the other thing we're really heavily involved with is a robot fighting competition. So
I think that's another thing that actually caught my attention. I saw you talking about something.
And we do this partly because we love it, partly because our customers love it. But part of the culture of Accu is we just like engineering. Basically, we're a business who wants to have fun with engineering, and it's kind of grown organically as something that's been a great channel for it. It always inspires people. So if you remember Robot Wars from the TV, our generation certainly remembers watching that with Craig Charles. This competition, it's actually they're lighter robots than those ones. Those were big, heavyweight robots.
You didn't realise how big they were.
They're huge if you actually see them in the flesh. The competition that we're involved with are featherweight, so they're smaller, but therefore they're faster, they're potentially more violent, right? They're going at higher speed, kind of more dangerous robots. And it started very much aimed at inspiring the next generation of engineers, so getting students involved in building robots, and a lot of the skills that go with that, and the passion behind it. It's now morphing into some kind of Formula One style series, potentially, where we've got different teams that help us to fund it, and it really becomes some kind of league going across the competition.
And is it purely sort of battles then, or are they races as well?
So these are battles. So this is a square arena.
That's where you come in for all the repairs, I imagine.
Yeah, sure. I mean, clearly these robots are built with our components, and a couple of our engineers from our engineering team.
It's a great business model. We'll sell you this. You smash it up and then come.
Yeah, exactly. And then you need to rebuild it, and you need more components. Yeah, precisely.
And where is this? Is this on TV, online? Or?
So the big launch of it next year is actually going to be at a trade show. So we're going to take it to a big engineering manufacturing trade show in the NEC.
Wow.
Which is a huge logistical feat to try and make that happen. And
it will be purely, the NEC will purely be for you.
So there's a big trade show going on, and we'll be in the middle of it as a bit of an attraction within the show. Slightly crazy thing to take on, but that's we like doing crazy things. That's in June next year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Might see if I can come down and get some footage on the day.
Yeah, and then having kind of established it and our ability to do it, then we want to we want to see where that goes. But there's definitely scope for streaming it online, and it's a great thing to watch the sparks fly. And
I was talking earlier with you about paddle, and one of the guys who I'm playing with, he's massively into TikTok. His business model, a lot of it is on TikTok, and he's like live streaming games that we're playing, and you think nobody's going to be bothered about that. Yeah. And there's thousands of people watching, and it's sort of like, it's crackers how. So, like you say, I think something like that would be a really popular.
It's great content. Yeah,
I'm assuming that you'll have some techie social media guys that
absolutely
can push
all over
it. So, as well as obviously here, and you're heavily involved in the Cutlers, is that right?
Yeah, so I'm a freeman of the company Cutlers in Sheffield. Yeah, and have been for quite a few years since my previous role. But a variety of different organisations that support manufacturing business. I'm very passionate about the local ecosystem of businesses, particularly within manufacturing and engineering. So yeah, the Cutlers is an amazingly unique thing, really, for Sheffield to have to support its manufacturing community. It's amazing that it's such a historic organisation, but it's brilliant that it's actually focused on the needs of manufacturers today. So it's trying to develop skills, it's trying to develop trade, and it's a great network of businesses. So within that community of people in the Cutlers, you can find someone who can help you with different problems.
I know they loosened the rules, didn't they, about having to be a manufacturer or something? Am I right with that? Do you think that's because, I as a local recruiter, specialise in engineering and manufacturing, I'm always worried and concerned that the pot is shrinking, the amount of businesses. Is that something that you see as a concern, or do you think the next generation of businesses will wave through? And
skills is a constant concern, and something that I think as people involved in the industry, we have to really focus on investing. It's really high on our priority list at Accu, not just for our own recruitment, but generally the number of people coming into engineering and manufacturing. It's not as many as it needs to be for the industry, and
for every two retiring, there's probably one, and then they get into middle management.
There's still big waves of people who are going to be retiring shortly, but that means that there's great careers there, and I try and get out there as much as possible and talk to kids and tell them, just make them understand what amazing careers there are going to be, and how digital things are going. This isn't just metal bashing and dirty factories, right? This is precision advanced manufacturing that's happening in Sheffield, right? Yeah. And you need skills in software and robotics and precision machinery, and they're great. They're great areas to work in and get involved with, and because there's a shortage of people, you command great salaries and make great careers, without having to move away.
I'm more meant as well, the businesses themselves seem to be reducing or getting bought out by sort of larger corporations outside of the city. Do you see that as a concern, or do you think there are other businesses that I probably might not know about that are coming through? And
I'm very much the optimist. I'm always the optimist and always looking forward. It's always just sad to see when that happens.
Offshoring is becoming,
for sure. I'm actually a big believer that things are going to reshore. If I step back and look at what's happening in manufacturing, I think the macro trend is that while everything went out to China because of economies of scale, right? The investment you needed for a factory was huge, and they could throw money at a huge factory with a lot of machinery, a lot of equipment, and they could make things in volume for the entire world, that barrier to entry on manufacture is actually getting lower. So the equipment cost is tumbling, and that means that it's a lot easier to start making things. At Accu, we work with a lot of people who are they're innovators, they're early stage companies, they're startups, they're doing things in that innovative space. And I'm really encouraged by all the people just starting to make things. You know, you can buy a 3D printer, you can do things in your garage a lot more easily than you used to be able to at a world-class standard.
Yeah.
And at a business level, I think that's probably true as well, that the level of investment needed will come down, and the benefit will be in manufacturing locally, more flexibly, and really developing products for your market. So I think the businesses that will win in the next 10 to 20 years are the ones who are able to adopt the digital technologies. And there's a lot of those skills around where we are. You know, there's a lot of smart software people, and I think if we can combine that manufacturing heritage and those new digital skills, there's a lot of potential. You know?
I'm glad you're the eternal optimist, because I'm probably the eternal pessimist. Just on that, what do you see? You know, the technologies that are coming down with AI and stuff like that. Obviously, there's a lot of worry about long-term jobs. You know, do you see that as a genuine concern, or do you think?
I think the jobs change. I think. I mean, we love the latest technology, and we adopt everything as early as we possibly can. We're using a lot of AI across our business, and I just see it as the latest technology. It's easy to look back. I mean, I started my career when people weren't really using email, right? They were faxing orders to one another, and somebody had spent a really long time transcribing an order, and very early computer systems. You know, it'd be really easy to look and say, well, you know, the internet and email were a threat to all those people's jobs, because the stuff that they were spending all their day doing is now done in the click of a button. I kind of just see AI in the same context. Yes, it speeds up some of the things that you currently spend your time doing, but that's not really how you run a business. So the number of people I employ isn't based on you know, how much they can get done. It's based on how many people I can afford to employ, right? And I'm always going to push that boundary. And if their time's freed up by this amazing new tool, great, I'll get them doing something else. I'll get them adding value in a different way.
Yeah.
And they can grow the business, you know, and that's really what a successful business is.
And I totally agree with that. But I guess, and it might be for a conversation for another time, but I guess what I'm more concerned about long term is, if you can get a piece of machinery, for argument's sake, that can do 8 people's jobs, 18 people's jobs, 100 people's jobs, it doesn't take long before all of us. I mean, at the moment, there are some really good candidates in the market. The last year alone, you know, job flow is down, you know, salaries are down in real terms, because sort of, you know, minimum wage is getting pushed up, the people in the middle are getting squashed in the middle. And it's more, I guess, from me being the pessimist that I am, sometimes I look at it and think, is this the start of the end for, you know, is there going to be mass unemployment because automation and machinery can do a job 10 times quicker and more efficiently?
I think whenever there's a risk of that period of unemployment in a phase of transition, but I think we should be aware that that's coming and invest in skills, retrain people, upskill people to get them to do the things that we need in the future. I think that's really key. If you stick your head in the sand and hope that you can cling on to the roles of the past, then that's when things go wrong.
Yeah.
Right. You've got to be looking forwards and saying, okay, the skills that you've had, maybe that's not what's needed, or not as many of those skills are needed, but other things are.
Yeah.
And how do we transition to that?
And I think with that, the school system could be a little bit more kind of forward thinking. I still, you know, I was a bit of a jack the lad at school, didn't really push myself. I said I was going to push my own kids, but I think a lot of the time they are learning redundant skills for a world that, you know, isn't really going to be. I don't know how you change that. It doesn't seem to have changed in the 30 years since I've left school, so I don't know how that changes. But I think
the pace of change is the astonishing thing at the moment.
And I think if you go to university, I mean, on that, if you go to university today and do a 5-year course, for argument's sake, yes, there are courses that will absolutely be worth it. The others, I think the majority, the world is going to be a completely different sort of world in 5 years. So, you know, is there better time?
I mean, I'm a big advocate of apprenticeships. We invest a lot in them as a business, and I'm part of the Apprenticeship Ambassador Network, where get out into schools and tell people about the benefits of apprenticeships. And there you get that ongoing training and investment in skills while actually being in the workplace, and therefore you just kind of naturally stay abreast of what's changing much more quickly. You know, and the course is tailored around what you're actually doing in your job, so it kind of immediately stays more relevant. And that's been a great way for us to recruit. We always have people on apprenticeships that come into the business. By the time they finish that apprenticeship, they're already fully immersed in the business and what the role is, and they've been adding value to the company for several years by that point as well.
And presumably you've got quite a good retention rate of those.
Those have been great, yeah. I mean, we have a good retention rate anyway. We do a lot to make Accu a great place to work, and that people enjoy it and want to stay with us. But for sure, the apprentices, you know, they've been invested in. They've got a good understanding of what we are as a business.
So you talked about it's 14 years old. You've been with them for 3.
Yep.
Obviously, you've grown exponentially, and sounds like there's way more to come.
Yep.
Will that all be locally here in Huddersfield, or world you raced there?
No, both. The world. So the immediate priority is definitely the global picture. So we open in the USA imminently, but then we're looking at other global markets as well, where we could definitely expand. We already export about 20% of all our business, and we won the King's Award for Enterprise last year, which was great, recognising the growth in international trade of the business, which was you know, really great accolade and recognition for what the business has done over the last 7 years, actually. So that's definitely an important part of the growth. But there's a lot more in the UK as well. One of the big things we're doing at the moment is adding more and more products. So we've developed this great e-commerce experience. We've made it easy for engineers to find the components they need with all the technical specification. We've made it easy for them to buy it online, try and make that experience as slick as possible. So now we can add more and more products. You know, what is it that they need that they can't find elsewhere? So we can really expand that range and serve more people in different industries. So lots of growth opportunity.
Yeah, it sounds very exciting. So I said to you before we come on, you know, before we started recording, that I always ask, you know, now that you've been on the podcast, who do you think, you know, who do you know that we might not know who would be a good guest, do you think?
Well, it's interesting that we've ended up talking about skills, actually, because the person I was going to mention to you kind of very much inspired me over the last year or two. Lady called Ruth Amos. So she was a young inventor. So she was inventing at school age, and started a business. As an engineer, as an innovator, but then really developed this passion and mission, I would say, for making kids realize what the career in engineering actually is, and that it's an opportunity for them, and particularly speaking to young girls. So before they get to the point of dismissing engineering as being not for girls, getting in there and inspiring them that they could invent things. They've got those skills, and they shouldn't dismiss it as not being for them. So she does a whole variety of work, but getting into primary schools and building inventions for kids that they've conceived and bringing it to life for them, making it entertaining, making it fun. which is really important. So we've done some great projects with her. We've got another one.
So she got her own consultancy or something?
So she does a variety of things. She's got a YouTube channel called Kids Invent Stuff.
Oh, okay. I'll get my girls watching that.
Yeah, it's great. Really entertaining way of getting kids to engage with engineering, that the kid will actually invent whatever crazy idea they've had, but then they go away and build it. Yeah. And they show the skill involved with actually building something and solving the problems and how to make things happen. But then they go into schools and they activate that in schools, which is great. And we've done a couple of projects with them, which it's a really nice thing to be involved.
The projects, are they sort of team building ones, or
so
or you've gone in schools?
So some of the schools work. So we did one tied into the robot fighting competition. So rather than the big dangerous robots, we also got a kind of small 3D printed robots. So we got them to get designs off kids, and then to build one of these little robots. There was a girl who came up with a burger type robot, with a flipper on it, which was great. So we actually built that, and we fought with it in our arena and filmed it all. So it was,
brilliant. So where is with that? Have you got your own fight arena at the moment?
So we've got a mini fight arena, so we can do the little 3D printed robots, and we take that into local schools. Yeah, that's in Accu at the moment, but we take that a variety of different places, and into schools and get robotics clubs to design their own robots and get the kids engaged with building things, designing them, get them doing a bit of CAD and thinking about how to design something and then construct it, with the ultimate aim of a little robot fighting competition, which is entertaining. Right now we're in the phase of building the big arena for the big Fight Fest competition.
How big will that be, sort of meters wise?
That's kind of a 5 meter squared arena, because those robots go pretty hard and fast.
Yeah, brilliant. So obviously we've talked about you being MD of a business. You've got the Cutler's concerns and everything. What about you? What do you do to stay sort of mentally and physically well-being? What's your?
Yeah, great question. I do an awful lot with my family. I'm a very very attentive dad. I'm the person in the family that does all the cooking. So
on a daily basis.
On a daily basis.
I do it on the weekend, not on a daily basis.
You find me in the kitchen preparing the meals.
I'll make sure my wife doesn't watch this episode.
Trying to inspire my kids with what to eat next. But I enjoy a lot of cooking. I still enjoy
Italian cuisine.
There's a lot of Italian in there, without a doubt. Yeah, definitely a favorite type of thing to go with. And I still love traveling a lot. My career's got me traveling around the world, but when I'm not traveling for business, I like to travel for pleasure as well. So we're always away at the weekend or trying to get somewhere different and open the kids' eyes. Show them the world.
Physically fit? Are you a runner,
so
or just
more on the bike? I don't do anywhere near as much as I should. Definitely be good to do more. Really fortunate at Accu that we work a 4-day week. So everybody in the business works 4 days. So I don't work Mondays, and I've got that time to look after myself. That's definitely the philosophy of it.
So is it everyone's got Monday off, or do you?
No, so it's different. So the business runs 7 days a week actually. So we're dispatching orders, every day, and that's fully operational. So across the business it varies.
When did you implement the 4-day week?
That was before my time. It was 4 or 5 years ago.
That is forward thinking.
Really ahead of its time.
Not many businesses.
And that's the kind of thing that attracted me to the business. Not just the fact that I only work 4 days, but the mindset that says that's what's important. That create a culture where people have got the right balance. And interestingly, I think it actually creates a lot of pace in the business. Whenever people ask me about it, they imagine, but you're losing 20% of your capacity. How does that work out? I couldn't afford to do it. I actually find people cram a lot into the 4 days that they do, and because they're cramming it in, they've got to work at a faster pace. You've got to get things done, and it also kind of means that things have to happen without you. So you've got more cross-working across the business, right? You know, things can't necessarily wait for me to be back in the office, so it has to happen without me, and that's really healthy. That it's not all landing on my desk. You know, people can do things with more autonomy. You know, they're not just sitting around and waiting for the decision maker.
I assume you've built quite a tight-knit Spartan-like team that can sort of operate off their own back then.
I'd like to think so. You'd have to ask them whether that's the case, but it's very much a team effort. You know, there's as I said earlier, like I'm not across what everybody does in the business and how they make it work, but they do, and they do it through a real passion for the customers. It's the most customer-focused organization I've ever come across, where really everybody in the business is thinking about the impact on the customer of what they're doing, which is a great thing to have.
Brilliant. Just going back to what you were saying there about the 4-day week, it's a poor analogy, but I heard Chris Evans yesterday do. I think to increase the pub trade, they're on about extending pub hours, and he was like, clearly whoever's behind this decision doesn't know anything about pubs, because what you should do is reduce the hours, because like you say, everybody wants to get in, get the drinks down them, and you know, take advantage. If they're open all the time, people have got all the choice in the world, and it's a bit like that. I mean, interestingly, I don't do much on a Friday, and haven't done for a couple of years. Where I was, they were quite relaxed on Friday, and there was a bit of a big brother divide, because some guys did need to go in on Friday and put a shift in and what have you, but it was very much a performance related thing. So if you did what you needed to do, you could have Friday off, and that's now as a self-employed guy how I'm running. Not that I don't do anything on a Friday, but I'm not busting a gut either.
Yeah, and you can take more time for yourself and get yourself in a shape that means that when you do go back to work on Monday morning, you're ready for it, and you've got more motivation.
That said, I'll quite often work on a Sunday nowadays, because I think Sunday for me is the new Monday. Because if no matter what my job flow is, I'll have a really good sort of proactive look on Sunday, because I know if I can't find anyone Sunday, there's going to be no one there Monday, so I've got to get on the phone and speak to clients,
get ahead of it,
and get new jobs on and what have you. So for me, I think work it's less about what time you do it, and it's more about being productive.
Absolutely.
You know, again, I think people are punished sometimes for getting in early. If you come in late, you've got to leave late. And I sort of think, if you can get in late and still do the same as everybody else, why make them wait half an hour? You know, I think time is a strange. We've created time to sort of punish ourselves. You know, really, it's a good time to meet, but beyond that, I think time.
Different people are productive at different times. It's interesting.
Yeah, and I find that, like yesterday, I thought I'll get into the office, put a shift in, and I'd meant to have a meeting at 4:30. And truth be told, up until about 2 o'clock, I probably wasn't as productive as I wanted to be. And then all of a sudden, I got into my zone, and I thought, right, I've got 2 hours before I've got to be leaving to this meeting. Really productive for those 2 hours. And then my wife was going to the mother-in-law's with the kids, so I knew I didn't have to be home. And the meeting cancelled, and I thought, well, I'm in my flat. I ended up staying in the office till about 7 o'clock.
Right.
And I thought, you know, I didn't work Monday. I'll not be working today, and I thought I've made up for it there. And you know, but yeah, I think other than that, I think it's been a great interview.
Brilliant. No, thanks for the chat. I've enjoyed it.
Maybe you know, with all the plans in 2026, we'll come and have a revisit, come out and see the site, and
yeah, definitely. I expect it'll change a lot in the next 1 to 3 years. That's definitely the plan.
To watch
big ambitions,
watch the journey, and maybe come down to the NEC, see what it's all about.
Great, yeah, come and fight a robot.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, thanks a lot.
Thanks for your time.
Cheers.